This video is all about digital platforms, digital strategies, so digitalization in general. And we're having a closer look at the kind of more traditional B2B sector. And therefore, I'm very happy to talk to a real expert on this topic because he has a lot of personal experience in the traditional B2B sector, even as a C-level leader. And I'm very happy to welcome you today, Ralph Dimenna.
Thanks, Vicky. Very happy to be with you.
Thank you so much for your time. Ralph, I already have a first question. So when we are talking about the more traditional B2B sector, what kind of factors of success could you observe in order to drive digitalization in the past?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And in my experience, you really have to look at the people. Even though we're talking about digital, the tools are all there. We could always figure out how to make the tools work, but you are really talking about winning the hearts and the minds of the people and being able to explain to them what is the change that's occurring, why is it occurring, and how is it going to be beneficial to them. And so I spent a lot of time in my experiences, we're building different platforms and trying to digitize different areas of the company to explain to the people, what is that? And a good friend of mine who's a chief digital officer always used to say, digital transformation is 5% technology and 95% people. So really working with people and making them and helping them understand how this is going to impact them and how it's going to help them is probably the most critical point.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not only the technique behind, but more the people who has to work with it, right?
Yes, and especially in a B2B environment, because in B2B, you've established a lot of relationships with your distribution, with your customers, with the different consumers that are using your products. And so you have to keep that relationship going. And those individuals that are in your company that have those relationships need to be able to use the digital tools to enhance that experience for the customer or the distribution, but not eliminate it. You're not going to eliminate that human element. So really figuring out how those digital tools are going to help enable you to provide a better experience and to build your business is key.
Now that's interesting. I've not expected that actually. So when you think back in your times, what do you think were the biggest challenges or barriers you had to overcome?
You know, some of the biggest barriers we had, so when I was at Michelin, we were putting in place a digital platform and just explaining, for example, to the distributors how they would use that, how their technicians would interact with the platform. What would that mean in terms of the relationship between Michelin and the distribution? And then also what new business that would enable them from the fleet side. All of those conversations had to happen. We had to build the technology, no doubt about it. But we really had to work on the conversations with all the different participants in this new ecosystem so that we could build a level of trust and understanding on how the tool was going to enable them to do business in a different and better way.
No, that's cool. But it actually also sounds quite hard, right? To build this relationship. So do you have any role models that are already there that we can see and have proof that it works and that digitalization in this sector works out very well?
Yes, I think there's some companies that have done quite well. Some of the transportation and logistics companies, especially on the freight side, the freight forwarders, you've seen a lot of digitalization of those platforms. You see a lot of new entrants in that area. You've got the case in Germany with a company called Sender, for example. You've got the equivalent in the United States and other places where they've really tried to take some of the friction out of the freight and logistics. And I think they've done a pretty good job. One of the other areas that we modeled after was some of the airlines and the airline industry, a platform like Amadeus, which a long time ago was established to bring all the different seats and availability of aircraft to travel agents so that they could see that in real time and start to work together and do those types. So you see some marketplaces like that have been successful. And then now on the automotive side, I think you're seeing, which is the area I'm most familiar with, you're seeing some of the big automotive companies start to think a little bit differently about vehicle ownership, the relationship with their customers, how you would do a vehicle on demand type solution. And they're working, it may seem like more of a B2C or a consumer model, but actually they're working with their distribution and with their partners on how are you going to deliver that vehicle to the place and time, at the place and time that someone wants to use it. And so there's a lot behind the scenes on those marketplaces of how do you manage the whole ecosystem to be able to deliver a good experience to the consumer at the end of the day.
Oh, cool. I've not expected that there are so many already outside.
There's
cool.
Quite a few, a lot of people working on this. And I
nice.
think, we'll see where it all ends up.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm very curious how it will develop in the future. Maybe this question is kind of hard, but when you think about or look at all these role models, can you kind of see what they're doing exceptionally well in comparison to others who have not managed to do so?
I think the ones that are doing the best are the ones that are truly close to the customers in every sense. So now we go back to sort of that first question you asked, but the better you know your distribution channels and what their pain points are, the better you know what that end consumer is and what their pain points are. Or that fleet customer or whatever your customer segment is, understanding the real pain points of that customer cohort and then designing a solution that responds exceptionally well to one or two or three of those pain points initially, I think are the ones that do the best. So the ones that are targeted initially at some real pain points and can then solve for those pain points. The ones I think that I've seen that struggle the most are the ones that try to be a little bit too generic and solve everything at the same time and have a very huge vision, but then never really get the traction to deploy that vision because they don't build the credibility with the customer or with their partners. And without building that credibility and showing them that we're going to be able to do this quickly and we're going to be able to build functionality over time, that's really key. So getting in the market quickly, getting there and addressing a true customer pain point, and then iterating off of that is the ones that I've seen have the most success so far.
Nice. That sounds quite good, actually. Cool. And Ralph, I have one more. It's kind of a personal question. So you working in the C-level, I can imagine that you have a lot of different topics on your agenda, a lot of like really day-to-day business, a lot of different things in your mind. How can you manage to stay innovative or even drive innovation? It's kind of hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the job is all about: is being able to hold two or three different strategic ideas in your mind at the same time, and ensuring that no matter what's going on the day-to-day execution, that's informing what you're doing from an innovative or a strategic development point of view. So you are certainly moving back and forth over your day on the different activities that you're overseeing. But it's really more about empowering your people and making sure that the individuals in the organization understand what's the direction, what's the strategic direction, where are we going to go, and why are all the activities that we're doing and executing today important in order to help us build towards that strategy. So making sure that they understand what the link is between that and the why behind all the different activities and how that leads to the future strategic state. That's really the job of the executive team.
So it's again all about the people, right?
It always comes back to those people. You've got to pay attention, and your employees need to understand, your customers need to understand, and all your partners need to understand where you're going, why you're doing that, and why is that beneficial for them.
I can imagine it's a big challenge also in terms of leadership then, right?
It can be, for sure. It certainly can be a challenge. But again, that's That's the way to succeed, and that's also what drives the most personal satisfaction, is seeing how individuals can sort of take that mantra and understand how to do that, and then they put their own spin on that. They're going to, if they understand where we're trying to go, as they're executing day to day, they're gonna make decisions that are helpful to the company and help move the company in the right direction.
Cool. Thank you, Rob. That was very inspiring. Thank you so much. Actually looking quite optimistic to the future now, because I didn't know that there's so much going on already, especially also in this traditional sector. So thank you very much for your experience, sharing it with us. And
it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Ciao.
Bye-bye.